So today we're talking about shifting identities, being open to alternate perspectives in order to ultimately move you forward in life. Just finished a really killer workout, under 7 miles, and then I did some resistance training. So I'm a little drained, but I wanted to do this today. So I was introduced to the law of attraction, I believe 5 or 6 years ago. And I would, oh no, 6 or 7 years ago. And I would dip my feet into it every now and then, but never enough to actually see concrete results, right? I did learn pretty early on that journaling was a huge key to alchemy and transcendence, but I had lots of resistance around this, and I would see it as a chore almost. I would kind of moan and groan about it and struggle to get a page written down. Now, fast forward to today, I moan and groan when I feel something else is cutting into my journaling time. So, if you look closely enough at your life, you'll see these little micro identity and mindset shifts. And being able to see these, becoming aware of these shifts, no matter how tiny, it will do wonders for the process of transcending limiting belief systems and any sort of resistance that's coming up over any area of your life. Because once you see this in one area, you can apply it to any other area, which is what I love about this work. I'll give another example in high school, which actually ties into the theme of this episode. In high school and even in undergrad, you couldn't pay me to do cardio. It was the most just dreadful idea in my mind. I wanted only resistance training, only weight training. Mentally, I would feel defeated almost whenever I even thought about cardio. And now, today, it's my favorite way to start my mornings. My days are 10 times better when I do cardio. And on average, I'm doing anywhere from 6 to 8 miles a day. So, I want to focus this on health and wellness specifically, though. I do think this topic deserves another episode, multiple other episodes where we can dive into other topics. We're going to focus on health and wellness. I'll give another example. Growing up, I was a very, very picky eater, and the foods I like to eat were relatively healthy, like chicken, fish, like just basics. But on the other hand, I was also a huge snacker. Like I loved all things salty, spicy, hot Cheetos, Takis, Cheez-Its, you name it. I had a real problem. So up until the age of 22 or so, my guilty pleasures would always revolve around these types of things. An overconsumption of food dyes and seed oils and flavor enhancers, all of this stuff that's just packed heavily into these snacks. I can do an entire video on the effects of that in childhood, but the point is, if you were to look at me then, you would see my guilty pleasure are these types of snacks, hot Cheetos, hot fries, and Cheez-Its. But if you were to fast forward to now, after energetically rewiring my habits, my mindset, and my food-based coping mechanisms, my guilty pleasure, quote unquote guilty pleasure, looks like macadamia nuts now, or maybe even pumpkin seeds. That's a huge shift. That is a huge upgrade. And only now, once when I'm bringing up these examples of my earlier stage guilty pleasures, do these things even come into mind? Like hot Cheetos and things like this. It's not even in my psyche anymore. I've simply found pleasure and nourishment in better options. And it's funny because I have a little dessert cup that I'll fill with the nuts after my dinner each night, and which I actually haven't had macadamia nuts in the house for a while, which is a little sad. But um, I'll fill the nuts. I'll fill the cup with the nuts, and there are times where I have gone for seconds and even thirds for the macadamia nuts. I don't allow myself to do it too often, but it is still great to look at how far I've come to where that is sort of like okay, like you're being naughty right now. That's way too much. I was speaking with a client and a friend a while ago, and she was telling me, oh, there's just no way that I could eat vegetables. I've always hated them. I can't even stomach the thought of eating vegetables and blah, blah. So I think, okay, we're not going to force you to eat veggies right now because all of that negative charge, it won't do you any good. I believe the emotions and the energies that are in operation while consuming any food or any drink, it has a major impact on the way that the food metabolizes in your body. So we put a pin in the veggies. And we went to her childhood, of course, and this negative charge began and why. So help walk you through this in my book, The Ultimate Health and Wellness Guide, linked in the description wherever you're listening to this, and always available on my website, Amazon, other platforms. So she began to share with me that her mother's method of getting her to eat her entire dinner was not allowing her to drink juice or leave the table until everything was finished. And she would often see her siblings playing without her because she was always last to finish. And if it went on for too long, her mother would eventually begin to yell and curse at her for her to finish. So obviously, we have to first extend compassion because we're looking at a single overworked mother who probably never prioritized filling up her own cup, her own emotional cup, her own spiritual cup. So she rarely had any patience to give after a long day. But we also have to work through this story, which I offer some journaling prompts in my book to help you walk through this as well. And of course, if you want a little closer proximity work to this, I can offer you this as well. But the obvious truth in this was that she just hadn't forgiven her mother for the repeated roughness at dinner time, and her refusing to eat veggies was her continuing the battle and winning, quote unquote, winning in some way. There was an emotional benefit to her feeling as though she's sticking it to her mother by not eating the veggies, by not finishing the plate. But the truth is here, her mother's just outliving her life. Maybe she feels guilty for her past parenting decisions. Maybe it's never crossed her mind. But that shouldn't be your focus. And we have to think this way about the people we perceive to have wronged us. We can't force anyone to see the perceived wrongs in their actions. We can only control ourselves. And we have to ask questions. Do I want this negative charge to remain in my heart and in my body? Because it's impacting you in a way that doesn't feel good. And it's probably also dictating your decisions and holding you back from things that are much more beneficial to you in the long run. Can you be open to a reality where you've forgiven this person? Or better yet, you've forgotten about this person and you've forgotten about their actions completely. Now, depending on the relationship, you do what you think is best. But can you be open to seeing things from a different perspective, even if it's just for your own benefit? It's no longer holding you back, causing you to close up, causing you to turn away from opportunities, causing you to shut certain people out. And sometimes you don't even have to do all of this. It depends on your emotional tie to the thing. Sometimes past experiences cause us to form limiting beliefs without the emotional charge. And through action and repetition, we just transcend it. For example, with the cardio, I found out just a few months ago why I avoided it all of these years and had the mental blocks around it. It was because my great uncle ran a travel club while I was growing up, and all of the family ran for the club. And I was always so discouraged that I wasn't as fast or as strong as my older siblings, and I hated getting used to losing. I hated that. So it was very discouraging for me, and I would psych myself out of it all the time. And so once I was old enough to say I didn't want to run anymore, obviously I stopped. But again, this didn't come until months after I just did the thing, after I just got into cardio. It was more like oh, that's why I never wanted to run a few years back. Rather than I need to heal from this, I need closure, I need releasing. And sometimes you do need those things, and then other times you just need to shut up and do whatever it is you're doing. It depends on the charge. If there is a heavy emotional charge and the charge is with someone that you love dearly, someone that you want to continue a relationship with, someone who's directly in your life that you want to keep in your life, then maybe you do need to do the healing and the releasing. That's recommended. But in most cases, sometimes you just need to shut the hell up and do the action, repeat the action over and over again, hate it in the beginning, and then you love it, right? Now, when it comes to health and wellness and dieting, I never recommend purposely eating and drinking things that you don't like and that don't make you feel good. I just don't recommend it. I don't recommend you start there. I recommend that you rewire the beliefs and you work towards that rather than you consuming things and seeing it as a punishment, seeing it as how much you hate this, you hate your new diet, you hate blah, blah, blah. Because that is going to be a far bigger effect on you than what you're eating, I can promise you. So it's nuanced, of course, that you have to decide, do I want this to be true for me? If I could choose into any thoughts, any belief, would I still choose this? If I were her, I would ask myself questions like, okay, if I could feel any emotion towards my mother, what would I choose in a perfect world? If I could choose any emotion towards my mother, what would it be? Would it be love? Would it be appreciation? Would it be compassion? Or would I still choose negativity now? If you put yourself in a perfect world scenario and you ask yourself, is this the emotion that I would still want to feel in a perfect world? If I could choose anything, if I could wave a magic wand, if you're still choosing the negative emotion, if you're still choosing into the pride, choosing into the resentment, there's some deeper things we have to work on. This is a good exercise, and like I said, you can apply this to any area. Here obviously we're kind of focusing on health and wellness, and that's great. I think a lot of people have blocks, especially for some reason, around vegetables. There are so many things in my life. I gave you guys a few examples in this episode. The journaling, there was a point in my life where I just could not journal, where I would actually refuse to journal because I thought it was a chore, a waste of time even. And now it's one of my favorite things. Same thing with cardio. I refused it for a majority of my life, not really understanding why, but also not allowing the why to hold me back in this identity, to where I'm just gonna do it. And then in my doing it, in my overcoming the block, I realized where the block came from. So sometimes in life, you're gonna overcome the thing by just getting over yourself and doing it. And then other times in life, you'll have to do the working through and the forgiveness and the releasing and the all of that, and then you can kind of transcend it. But sometimes you just transcend it by just shutting the hell up and doing it, right? And I truly think that's the majority of our situations. So be open to this. Be open to this and look around for things that you have really heavy, really stubborn, strong opinions and beliefs, maybe about certain people in your life, maybe about certain opportunities that you can have, maybe about your career choice or your career path, maybe about anything that you can have or be or do in this life. If you have really strong opinions about something, the negative, obviously, look at that and say, could I be open to something else? And this is a question I want to leave you with. If the one thing standing between you and your desired outcome is the fact that you have to admit that you are wrong, the fact that you have to admit that you are afraid, the fact that you have to admit that you are lazy, the fact that you have to admit that you are satisfied and comfortable in your position right now and actually don't want to get out of it, if that is the key to receiving what it is that you claim is your true desired outcome, are you willing to take that route? You have to intentionally make that decision. So I'll leave you with that. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kalia Transcends. Follow my Spotify, Kalia Transcends. Email if you want to work with me. We have mentorship packages, human design readings, the Ultimate Health and Wellness Guide. I'm working on publishing my second book as well. Get that book. It's on Amazon. It's on my website. You can get it in person as well if you're in Florida. Physical copies, paperbacks, digital copies, PDF format. Also, the Inner Circle, 2 tiers available. Tier 1, you'll have access to my day-to-day health and wellness habits, exactly what I'm eating and drinking throughout the day, what I'm doing to keep active, even some of my other habits, beauty rituals. And Tier 2 will be all that's included in Tier 1, plus just exclusive content, travel content, lifestyle content, content that I just won't be posting publicly because I don't want my personal life to, kind of be the face of my brand. I want my brand to be transcendence, and I want to just help you walk with you through that. So that'll all be available in Tier 2 of the Inner Circle, and that's available for subscription on my website, and you can become a member that way. If you end up working with me or purchasing anything from me, you automatically become a founding member in my company, and you will have a forever discount on anything that I launch or upload for purchase. So take advantage of that. That's really cool. I like the idea of founding members who are a part of my community and who were here from the very beginning. So if you're watching this, if you're listening to this before July 16th, 2026, and you want to purchase my book, you want to purchase a reading from me, enroll in one of my mentorship packages, definitely do that and you will automatically become a founding member. of my company, and you'll be a part of the family. So that'll be great. Now I'm gonna go take a shower because I'm drained. But I hope you join this community and let me know what you're working on transcending right now.